Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another reading log. Today I'm going to talk about everything that I read in the month of September. Now, right off the bat, I didn't finish reading everything I said I was going to be reading, and that's not really because I didn't want to or because I got distracted and read other things, but rather it's because basically I was doing really good, and then extended family member passed away, which wouldn't really necessarily be a problem most of the time, but this extended family member was someone that I really cared about, and so it really messed me up for a while, and basically I just lost the desire to do anything for like a week, and then I got really busy with school, and then I basically just didn't have any reading time, and so I just didn't read anything, which kind of sucks. But yeah, like I have it written on my notebook here. I was reading more or less every day from September 1st to September 16, sorry. And then that's the week that I got the news that my family member passed away. And then I haven't read anything since then, besides like a few single issues of comic books. And then what I read today. So which is the 29th of September. So, I mean, it kind of sucks that I didn't get to finish, but I think that the reason why I didn't finish is a relatively good one. So I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but yeah, it was kind of tough for me this month. Now, school really wrapped up a lot. I mean, it's not necessarily test. It was just a lot of homework. Like I had to do a bunch of lab work for my for my electrical engineering degree. We have to do fundamentals. Which are essentially just like lab times when we build different machines, right? Like Arduino machines. So I had to do a counter and then this thing that told you how much you were moving a joystick and all sorts of interesting things that are really cool, but they take a lot of time, especially when the professor doesn't really provide you instructions. So it's kind of difficult, but yeah, mostly it was because of schoolwork. But I did kind of lose a week of reading time because I was just like really out of it. I was just like not in the right mentality, right in the right mood to read, which really, sucks. But I mean, I needed time for myself and for my family. I went to visit them, and that kind of brought me back into kind of wanting to read and getting out of my funk this past weekend. So I'm actually really happy that I managed to go with my family. Also, actually really ended up enjoying, or not, maybe not enjoying, because I was sad the whole time, but definitely appreciating the break I took from reading, which is overall nice. I mean, you got to look at the positive side of things, and generally I think it was a good thing that I took a break, not just because I needed to, but because it was actually also kind of nice for me as a reader to kind of reinvigorate my love for reading by not doing it for a little bit. Right, so yeah, let's get into it. That was a lot of introduction talk. I am sorry. Most of you guys don't really give a shit about what I'm going through with my personal life anyways. So yeah, let's get into it. So first stuff I read was whatever I picked up this first week of September in terms of comic books. So I read Moon Knight issue 1, and then Marvel Dark Ages issue 1, which is a really, really good one. You guys can see what I did in Comics by the Issue right there. Then I read Red Sonja, issue 1 by Mirka Andolfo, and then Sweet Paprika, issue 2, by Mirka Andolfo, and then King Grimlock, issue 2 by Steve Orlando, I think. Okay, and then I went over to my manga stuff. I read Volume 1 of Ultraman, if I can get it out. Okay, there you go. Volume 1 of Ultraman, which is really, really good. Really compelling, really interesting. I actually really liked it. The art style was really good as well. Overall, it's very, very interesting. I like it a lot. And I'm really looking forward to getting more of it, but I haven't been able to find any in any of the bookstores I go to. So that's kind of sad. I'm probably going to have to buy this online, which is not the best. Then I read Radiant Black, not issue 1, Volume 1, which was pretty good. It was a little bit too melodramatic sometimes, and more than anything, it was actually kind of slow because I had to set up a bunch of characters, because this isn't like a regular superhero comic book, right? We don't actually know anything about any of these characters. So him having to take the time to do that and kind of develop that history of the character kind of makes it feel really slow in comparison to other comic books. And so it wasn't as interesting as it would normally be, but I actually really ended up liking it quite a lot, overall. So I'm quite happy with this. Then I read Green Lantern Rebirth by Jeff Johns. Really good kind of introductory text for Green Lantern. Basically kind of resets the Green Lantern lore, brings you back Hal Jordan and all of the other human Green Lanterns, and introduces Kilowog as well, and kind of just resets everything so that we can have a good starting point for Green Lantern. And it's actually quite good. You don't really have to know anything about Green Lantern beforehand. It explains everything that you kind of need post Infinite Crisis, I think, which is the last event that kind of messed up everything in the DC timeline. But it was really good, really enjoyable. I really like Jeff Johns. He does a really good job with all the characters he picks up. So I definitely want to get more Green Lantern stuff by Jeff Johns for sure. Then I read Boichi's Origin, volumes 1 and 2. Let me get them. Here's volume 1 and here's volume 2. Really, really good stuff. It's a kind of robots versus robots. Robot that wants to become a human or have human-like consciousness, and kind of very similar to iRobot, kind of very similar to anything of that sort, Ex Machina, stuff like that. And overall, it was really, really good. The best part, honestly, was the artwork. Boichi is insanely talented with his artwork. He's just so good, and it's really, really interesting. I just like his ability to show how intricate, mechanisms and organisms are. So very, very good stuff. And yeah, there you go. That's it. Sorry, there you go. Then I read Yagon, issues 1 and 2, and this one is kind of interesting. If you like Gantz, you'll probably like this, although this is more of an exploration of sadness and depression than it is anything kind of more action heavy. I mean, there's a lot of action in it as well, but generally it's an exploration of depression and dreams and how people want to live up to them, or people that can't live up to them kind of deal with that issue. And I was really interested. I thought it was really compelling. And the artwork was kind of insane, and I already put it down so I can't show you, but because I don't want to move, but I'll do it because content. So there you go. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Very, very interesting. A lot of compelling, crazy, like body horror stuff. Very, very interesting. So yeah, there you go. It's like Parasite and Gantz in one, and it's very, very interesting. Then I read Fist of the North Star, volume 1, which is actually like 1.5 volumes, if I remember correctly. Really good. Really want to pick up the second one. I actually saw it today at my local comic book shops, but I didn't really have the money to pick it up because I was spending it on single issues of comic books. So probably buy it some other time. Probably buy it online, so it's a little bit cheaper. But I'm not really sure. But it's a good one. It's martial arts. It's supposed to be post-apocalyptic. There's a vague element of sci-fi, but it mostly reads like a fantasy story, like something like Power Rangers. What was that one specifically that's like very similar to this? Like Power Rangers RPM, I think, which was not a series I watched, but I know vaguely what it's like. It's kind of like Mad Max. This is kind of like Mad Max, but it also has martial arts and this kind of vaguely magical type of martial arts, and it's very, very good. I really like the artwork here as well. I think it's very, very interesting. But it is definitely noticeably old, even if it's still really, really good. So there you go. Then I read Dr. Stone Reboot Byakuya, which is actually a really interesting kind of spin-off manga to Dr. Stone. It's only 9 chapters. It's a single volume, and it's really good. Boichi wrote and drew it, so It looks really nice. It fits in with the same kind of Dr. Stone style, but the story is a little bit different. It kind of has more of a feel like Wall-E than it does like The 100, which is like the closest thing I can think of in American media to Dr. Stone. Because it deals with this little robot that kind of washes over Byakuya from space, and they're kind of just waiting for him to return to the space station, but of course he never does, and so the little robot is just kind of like there the whole time, and you kind of get this really kind of like bittersweet sadness slash like love for this kind of little creature robot thing, because it's just so innocent and so like loving about like waiting for I was gonna say Boichi. It's not waiting for Boichi, Byakuya, but it can't ever actually see him again, and it's very interesting. Kind of reminded me of that story of the dog that would wait for its owner at the train station, but the owner never came back because it died. It was very, very similar to that, and I don't know, it really tugged at my heartstrings quite a bit. So yeah, then I finished reading Bright Blade. I think I said I finished reading it last month, but I did not. I was almost done finishing it. And then I finished it this month and did the review for it and stuff. But yeah, really good stuff. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It was definitely slow at the beginning, and it kind of had this feel like it wasn't really sure what it wanted to do, because it had like 3 different plot lines stuck together. Like it had the whole kind of like abducted by aliens kind of vibe to it, and then it had this whole kind of like gladiator man has to fight for his life kind of thing. And then it also had this kind of like tower conquest idea, as well as this underlying kind of like, I gotta go save my brother who's stuck in a different world kind of vibe to it. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it wasn't ever difficult to read, but it was very like heavy, and like there was a lot of stuff going on. And so I think that's why it slowed me down a lot, because I just wasn't like really in the mindset to read a lot of heavy stuff, because honestly, whether you guys like it or not, manga is very light and very kind of like easy to read in comparison to like Western fantasy novels. And so like it's kind of like difficult to jump back between the two, because I read so much more manga than novels in the last couple months and maybe almost years, right? 2 years. That jumping back into like something very Western and very kind of like heavy on the world building, it's like, oh my god, this is so much information. Can you chill? So I think that's kind of like the issue there, but it was good overall. Then I read Symbiote Spider-Man issues 1 and 2. Very good. I can't wait to read issue 3. I just picked it up today, as if you guys saw yesterday's haul video, which was the video that I recorded earlier today. But for you guys, it should be yesterday's video. But yeah, Symbiote Spider-Man is pretty interesting. It's basically like Spider-Man and Black Cat are together, and then they're fighting this lady called the Queen of the Norns, which are like witches from Asgard. And then the Norn does something, and she sends Spider-Man into this kind of like different dimension, and there he meets someone else, and he gets into a different dimension, and he's kind of dimension hopping, and Black Cat's like going crazy, and she has to drag in Doctor Strange to kind of fix the issue, and that's kind of what is happening so far. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes from there. Pretty cool. I like it a lot. I think it's very exciting. So yeah, then I read volume 1 of Gohan, who that is very surprising. I mean, I thought I was gonna like this before I read it, but then I read it and I loved it. So I was like, oh, this is even better than I thought. And I'm actually really, really happy with it. It's a very kind of cutesy, compelling, kind of really wholesome feeling story, even if it has a lot of fan service, and even if the relationship between the two characters is a little bit concerning for us Westerners, because it has this age gap and this power dynamic, because one person is a student, one person is an adult, and like a teacher, right? But it's fantasy, so it doesn't really, or not fantasy, fiction, so it doesn't really matter to me personally. That's kind of my stance on most of these problem things. It's like, I don't really care that it's problematic IRL, because it's not IRL, right? But it was really good. I really liked the relationship between the two characters. I really like that the gal Miku really appreciates the teacher Yabe, and that Yabe the teacher really appreciates Miku the gal. So it's really interesting. I really like it. It's a very good dynamic, and the art is really, really cute as well. It's very adorable. So there you go. Kind of reminds me of Beauty and the Feast, but like gender swapped. I think it's really nice. So yeah, there you go. Then I read, let's see, Starblazer. There you go, Starblazer 2199 Volume 1. A retelling of the classic space battleship Yamato. In fact, it actually is much better than the original because it has a lot of time and it has a longer manga adaptation from the rebooted anime, and so you can actually get to learn more about the characters and about the development of them and how they are as individuals and stuff like that. And it actually lends itself to a lot more meaningful kind of space opera stuff than even the original did. And the original was like the defining space opera manga, right? So it's very good. I really did like it. I thought it was really good. The updated art was also very, very nice. There's a lot more fan service here than there was in the original, but I think that that's because the original's artwork wasn't so good that really the fan service wasn't really, titillating at all, because it was like, oh, this barely looks like a person. So I think the fan service hits much better in this. So yeah. That same day I also read Volume 1 of Adam the Beginning, which is a very interesting retelling / prequel / reimagining / spin-off of Astro Boy. Really, really good stuff. Very interesting. It has robot fights, very similar to Real Steel, the movie with Hugh Jackman and that kid that looks like young Anakin Skywalker from Phantom Menace. And it was really, really good. I really liked it a lot. It was very interesting. It's very compelling. It talks about what it means to be a human and how a robot might go about achieving consciousness and what it means to be conscious and how it means to interact with the consciousness and stuff like that. And overall, I thought it was really, really good. Really liked it a lot. The art style was really nice as well. Overall, just really happy with this. I can't wait to buy more of it once I go to Mexico this winter. I also read volumes 2 and 3 right after that, and they're really good as well. Then this is when I started to slow down. I basically didn't really read much after this, except for some single issue comic books. And then I managed to push myself up to read a bit more afterwards, so we'll talk about that. Okay, so Titans United, issue 1. Basically, the Titans have problems with their powers and then have to fight people that have their powers as well for some odd reason. That's basically all I know about it so far, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. Vampirverse, which is basically like multiverse shenanigans for Vampirella. And I don't know anything about Vampirella, but I thought this was an interesting issue. I like the artwork in the issue, and the kind of ideas it has are really interesting, so pretty happy with it. Can't wait to pick up the next volume, or the next issue, sorry. Then I read Thanos Eternals, Thanos Rises. This is a one-shot by Kieran Gillen, who's writing the Eternals series right now and is doing a really good job as far as I know. I'm gonna pick up their Eternals Volume 1, but I haven't done it yet because it costs $18 and it's only like about the same page count as a regular $10 tankobon, so it's kind of like not the best. But I mean, they are in full color, so maybe it's a little bit better. But I'm not really sure. I just haven't picked it up yet. This is pretty interesting. It kind of tells you where Thanos comes from and talks about his two parents and kind of why they did what they did and what the consequences of doing that were. And overall, very good. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I also really like the way he looks. He's in this contrapposto stance or pose where he's showing off all of the musculature of his body and also the kind of interesting dynamics of his physique. So it's really cool. I like it a lot. Then I read some more digital stuff. I read Deceased. So I wasn't going to really read this month because it's more like a zombie thing. So I thought it was good for October, but I'll definitely review it in October. But it's really interesting. It's by Tom Taylor, the guy that did Dark Ages, and he did a bunch of other stuff. But Deceased is basically like the DC universe versus zombies, or a zombie apocalypse in the DC universe, and it was actually really, really good. I liked all 6 issues. I thought it was really interesting. I read this on the DC Infinite app, or whatever the DC reading app is called, because they were doing it like if you sign up, they gave you all 6 issues for free. I did that. Didn't get the subscription service, but I did get to read Deceased, and I thought it was really good. Really enjoyed it. I think there's more to it than just the first 6 issues, but I don't know. I haven't checked, but I definitely want to pick this up in a physical format. I think it's really, really interesting. And yeah, it was also very creepy. The art style was really, really good. Then I read Dr. Stone, the Stone Wars Saga, which is chapters 46 to 82. Really, really good stuff. I really enjoy it. I just love Dr. Stone. The artwork is amazing. The story is good. The emphasis on scientific discovery and kind of just using science to better your life is really good. Just overall, I really, really liked it. As a fan of engineering and a fan of science and kind of like science experiments, I thought it was really fun, really cool. I realized that it's actually not super realistic, but that's not really the point of it. The point of it is to inspire kind of kids to like science, right? And to show off that science is really interesting. So I thought it was really good for that stuff. For that sort of stuff. I definitely want to get my cousins to read it so they'll get interested in science, and then maybe they'll become, you know, scientists or engineers at some point in their future, right? So yeah. Then I read Saint Seiya Volume 1. Really good stuff. This is in Spanish. That's why it looks different from the English versions. And I really, really liked it. Saint Seiya is just a great series. I talk about this like an insane person, and everyone that I know IRL that listens to me talked about it laughs at me, because it's like, yes, we know you like Saint Seiya, but no one in the US knows about Saint Seiya at all. So I understand that you guys probably don't care. Saint Seiya is like whatever to you guys, but Saint Seiya is amazing. I love it so much. I really hope that it gets an English re-release someday in the future. If it's hardcover, that's even better, but paperbacks are fine too. Really good stuff, just amazing. It's just such a good story. I don't know what to say about it. It's just so good. I like it a lot. And then I read Saga because I was feeling down. I was like, oh, well, Saga is kind of sad, but it also has this kind of like nice, hopeful tone to it sometimes. So I'll read it, and I really enjoyed it, got hooked. And I read all 3 issues, or 3 volumes that I have, like one after another immediately. So here we go. This is Saga Volume 4. Really good stuff, really interesting. Volume 5 and Volume 6. And we basically deal with, what was her name? Hope? Yeah, I think her name is Hope. Her kind of like younger years, right? Between like toddler and tween or teen, like young teen, like before she's 10 years old. And we get to see that, you know, stuff is rough, and her parents are having to deal with difficult parent things as well as difficult life things for them as individuals. And overall, it's just very, very interesting, very good. And I was quite happy with it. I think it was really good. However, I do want to say that I did lose a little bit of the zeal for the story that I had at the end of Volume 3. And I think this is because this is a story that is better binged than it is enjoyed one volume or one issue at a time. This is much more compelling and interesting when you get to see it all together in a movie format, right? In this kind of like continuous way, right? Instead of like a little bit at a time. So keep that in mind when you guys read it. I didn't really lose interest in the story, but like my hype for it did go down a little bit because I like being away from it so long kind of made returning to it not as eventful for some reason, which is usually because it's usually the opposite, right? But this time it just happened that way, and it was just not the best, right? So yeah, but Saga is still a 10 out of 10. I love it so much. A 5 out of 5, whatever stupid rating system I use. I can't even remember right now, but really good stuff. I really enjoyed it. I think everyone should read it. Please check out Saga. It's really, really good. As long as you're 18. Because it's not really for kids or for teenagers. There's a lot of stuff in it that is kind of definitely adult. So yeah, and then what else did I read? I read Winter Guard, issue 1. Pretty interesting. Basically, Russian Avengers And we get to see the Red Guardian and Black Widow and White Widow have to fight them because some weird political reason, right? Because that's how that stuff works. If it's Russia and the US, it's always a political issue. So yeah, pretty cool. I picked up issue 2 today, so I'm really excited to read that. But yeah, then here we go. This is the last stuff I read. Well, almost the last stuff. The 2 Batman Day freebies. This one was really interesting, but I don't want to read more of it because it's Fortnite and I don't like Fortnite, so whatever. But I definitely like this free issue. I think it's the first issue in the series. If I find it really cheap, I'll probably buy the whole thing, but I probably won't anytime soon, so this is going to go on the back burner. I really want to pick this up, but this freebie was bad at getting me to want to pick it up because none of the stories that they gave me were good enough or were enough of the actual stories that are in the book to kind of want me to read it all. Like, there was nothing that hooked me about this one, mostly because I was already hooked, or like I was already interested in buying it, so maybe that's why. But it wasn't the best work in terms of like getting you interested in, you know, picking up the full book. Then Death of Doctor Strange and King Swan. This one is about Doctor Strange dying and what it means for the Marvel Universe in terms of like magical stuff. Basically, we just deal with Doctor Strange dying in this first one, and that's basically it. There's really nothing special about it. It hasn't really done anything too compelling yet, but it was pretty good, and the artwork was really nice as well. And then King Spawn, issue 2. Again, this one was a transitionary chapter between the first issue and whatever is coming next. It basically just deals with this guy coming back and kind of setting up stuff so that Spawn has to also do what they want him to do without wanting to do it. It's very kind of interesting, but it's really weird. So yeah, King Spawn issue 2. Then this is the last book I read, and I just finished it a little bit ago, and it's Reborn as a space mercenary. I woke up piloting the strongest spaceship. Really good stuff. I actually really liked it. It would basically follow this isekai dude who's like 20-something years old, and he's basically somewhere between Han Solo and Boba Fett in terms of like coolness and in terms of his job. He's like not a smuggler, but he's also not really like a bounty hunter in the kind of negative connotation. He's like a bounty hunter, but he's a good guy. So he's kind of like Han Solo, right? Because Han Solo is like, oh, I'm a big badass, but I'm actually a good guy deep on the inside, or whenever there's a hot princess to save, right? So same vibe, but he's not as suave as Han Solo, because no one is, right? But really good stuff. I liked it a lot, actually. It was really nice. We have space elves and cute girls with big boobs and hot lieutenant ladies and, you know, all sorts of, you know, female characters. This is definitely a harem story. But we also have this really interesting kind of like cool guy that just is a badass, and he likes piloting a ship, and he is happy with his job, and he also has this obsession with Coke and like soda, right? Pop, whatever you guys want to call it. In the South, everything that is carbonated and is a soda is Coke, so whatever. Or at least here in Texas. Actually, I think in most of the South, it's just called soda. I'm not really sure. I can't remember. But yeah, this guy just wants fizzy drinks, and he can't have any because fizzy drinks don't work in space. So it sucks. And he has this obsession with finding the way to get a fizzy drink in space. So it's kind of funny. And yeah, really good stuff. I liked it a lot. So that's everything that I read. Now let's talk about what I didn't get to read. Now, I actually started reading Watchmen, but holy fuck, dude. Watchmen is so difficult to read because of this horrible paneling. Look, it's so fucking boring. It's just 9 squares, and then more 9 squares, and then 9 squares again, and more, and more, and more, and more. And even though the story is interesting, it's so fucking boring to read. It, like, has no variation at all. And so, I'm taking a long time reading this, but the story is interesting and compelling. It's just difficult to read because it's paneled so boringly. But that's that. In terms of what I didn't get to read, no, I also started but didn't finish Kuroichi, or Kuroichi, whatever. I always forget how to pronounce it. But I do want to finish reading that soon and reviewing it because I've been telling Olivia, I think that's her name, that I was gonna do it, and I just haven't done it yet, but I promise I will finish it soon. I swear. I also didn't read at all Red Rising, which sucks. I've been wanting to read this for a long time. Just didn't get around to it, and I don't think I'm gonna get around to it until much later in the month. I also didn't read, or not the month, the year, sorry. Also didn't get to read Perry Roden, and I also didn't get to read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I don't know if I'm gonna put them on October's TBR, or if I'm just gonna like get them off the TBR completely and just kind of read them whenever I feel like it. I mean, I have them here in my bookshelf, and I'm not gonna go home until Thanksgiving, so they're gonna be here for another 2 months. So maybe I'll just read them at some point, but I haven't really decided what to do with that just yet. But yeah, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Rambled a lot. That's kind of what I do in these videos, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got something out of it, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought, and if you guys have anything to recommend me in terms of reading or writing or watching, I don't know, just recommend some stuff down below. I would really appreciate knowing what you guys kind of think I should read. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I really do appreciate you guys and everyone that watches and comments and does all of the YouTube stuff and just kind of enjoys my videos. So yeah, thank you guys very much. See you guys later.